and I'm Melissa from MVGX, and I'll be your MC for today. It is an honor to have all of you here at this special occasion. And first up, I would like to invite our Executive Chairman and Co-founder, Dr. Bo Bai, and Chairman of Data Analytics, Professor VOLUNTARY, up to sign the Memorandum of Understanding for the strategic collaboration to promote the sustainable development of data centers and the investment and trading of green assets. Please, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Please stay to take a few photos. We have one with
all strong.
Alright, thank you, gentlemen. So our first speaker is Dr. Bai, Executive Chairman and Co-founder of Metaverse Exchange. He previously worked for Warburg Pincus, and as a partner and Managing Director, he led its investments in energy, industrials, and business services sector in Asia. Previously, he also worked at First Reserve Corporation and Goldman Sachs.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for everyone to spend this afternoon with us. We thought want to bring some interesting topic to people to appreciate how the digital technology and how what we have been trying to do to potentially drive sustainable activities across this region as well as globally. It's such a pleasure to have our partners from both RDA and the Stacks, as well as OCBC, and Greenland, and the Waxman, and all other friends to join us today to be able to have the opportunity to share with you and then what we are trying to do. So let me get started. We wanted to have this chance to share with the people, is there anything to do with the green by the name of Metaverse? Your company renamed yourself a while back to be Metaverse Green Exchange. Are you just trying to be catchy, just trying to be catch the wave, or why are you naming what you're naming? Why are you doing what you're doing? So let me start with that. Let me do a very brief advertisement about ourselves. We started in 2018, and we are established as a regulated and licensed financial institution in Singapore. So we're a fintech company, and today we'll first talk about the fin part. Is we're a financial service company with a license from a monetary authority in Singapore that includes recognized market operator, capital market service license, as well as custody license, and so on. On the tech side, from the very beginning, we partnered with the Nasdaq. We built our system on the cloud and on blockchain, and very honored to have the chance to partner with the Nasdaq to be similar to SGX and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange to utilize their trading engines and the risk management engines and so forth. But on top of that, we actually built our own proprietary ledger. And this is something a little bit interesting, is we want to have everything trading on our platform. It comes with a carbon footprint. This is almost similar to when you want to list something in SGX. You want to have a financial audit team for their financial performances, but we also require environmental and carbon auditing to come up with a number on that security. And the benefit of that is we are not only doing carbon disclosure by issuers. If you participate in our platform, you buy 3 securities and 3 products, every one of them will have a carbon footprint on it. And you will aggregate to know the carbon footprint of your portfolio. By doing that, we are actually the first exchange with the ledger that allows both carbon disclosures by issuers and the investors. That's just the appetizer for today. The next one is really what's getting more exciting, more interesting, Metaverse. When people hear the word Metaverse, Facebook, okay, got it. So they're pretty excited. But generally, you first think about the movie Avatar, the movie Matrix Reloaded, and they are looking at the technology of AR and VRs that you put on yourself and goggle, and they can do many, many different things during the whole COVID-19 situation. And some people use that to do real estate business, to be able to see the real estate properties. Some people who have this virtual remote conferences with a mixture of avatar and real people. And then we saw some of the very fascinating events happening. So that's mostly people about all the fascinating of new versions of people's interaction, new versions of communication, gaming, and so on and so forth. But largely, it was about people. It's about people's avatar. It's about people's interaction in the metaverse, which is going to be extremely exciting. How about other part of the world that is happening? In addition to this whole people having a lot of fun in the digital world, hopefully that you can live in the metaverse forever, there's also another very macro trend in the world that's happening is we're all facing the climate crisis and then the global warming is killing us. We're not talking about the global warming, we're talking about the climate crisis, climate emergency now. Are they having any relationship? To answer that question, we need to answer the few areas of assets, from digital crypto assets to carbon, even more asset-backed securities to make the linkages. So, everybody heard another very exciting, very popular words related to metaverse, that is NFT. I believe for all the folks here, nobody has ever heard of NFT. And then I was reading the news the other day, some young kids sold and made about $500,000 doing NFTs in Singapore. And got everybody to learn what the hell is that. So what is it? NFT is to represent the asset. And it comes from some digital world, native digital asset. It may be Jack Dorsey's Twitter. It may be a digital painting. It may be a crazy ugly look apes. And why is that exciting for people to buy? Because people want to buy it. So NFT is the technology beginning to represent the asset in metaverse. Moving from the P representation in the metaverse to the asset or object representation in the metaverse. The beauty and the limitation comes with it. The beauty is, it's called a non-fungible digital twin, which means it's not fungible. Nobody can change, it's immutable, traceable, and then all this beauty behind it. But because of that, we usually say NFT is only for dead assets, meaning that you cannot add new information to it because it's not fungible. You cannot add new information to it anymore. So in real world, in what we want to do, if we want to drive sustainability, you want to do efforts, real world stuff is far more complicated than that. In this building, today, we have all the people here. That's new information. New information needs to be captured. If you want to represent this building in the digital world, in the metaverse, we want to build a wind farm. The wind farm is not just turning one day, it's turning every day. And then every day's information is captured. The topic of the day, the data center, and the king is not going to run his data center for just one day. They're going to charge every day for the cloud services, and that information is captured. So that's why we say NFT is insufficient to capture real-world assets to make it more widely applicable in the metaverse digital technology. That's why we actually patented something we call NFT, added a D there, representing non-fungible digital twin. I have to admit, I'm not the expert of digital twin, and then I put one of my friends to teach me more about digital twin, Professor Wen, and I actually went to the same college and at the same graduate school. And it just happened that he learned better, and that's why he's the deputy dean of NTU. I ended up to be a chairman of Metaverse Research. So that's the difference of academic levels. But what we managed to do is on a more pragmatic sense, how we combine the non-fungible token technology with the digital twin technology to make something like NFT so that we can add more assets that are live. How does that work? It's a whole time series of information. That's what a digital twin is about. Capture live time series of information with the sensors, with all the different activities. Use the data center as an example. We starting from what we call the birth certificate. The birth date is essentially the permit to build, and that's the starting point. And then you have the construction, and then you're operating, you have the information gathering, and then you have for financial information, you have the power information, you have the customer information. Every day in, day out, we're adding information to that digital twin, and then we use the NFT technology in combination with the digital twin to make an avatar of that data center in Metaverse. That avatar has all the information you need for certain activities, and then we'll talk about how to use that. But in this way, you are essentially creating an NFT or creating the avatar of that object. And that's what we patented technology for NFT. And it can be anything. It can be a data center, it can be warranty information, it can be many other car insurance, and so on and so forth. It's about information. It's about representing assets in the Metaverse. Now, we're not doing this just for fun. We're doing this for a purpose. Now I'm going to answer you the main scheme of the day. So, Metaverse from people to assets, and then we have a proprietary technology to represent the assets in the Metaverse, and then what are we using it for? So I'll use one example to demonstrate in a more deeper way, but a simpler example is a wind project, a solar project, a green data center. We use NFT to represent this asset. Sometimes this asset even comes with a legal title. So who is real is sometimes hard to say. Maybe this avatar is actually the real thing, because the avatar owns the real world. And then based on that, we issue asset-backed security. The way that we think about the future of asset-backed security is digital security backed by digital asset. What is digital asset? A digital asset from real world is its avatar in the Metaverse, or the NFT representation of the real world assets in the Metaverse. And on top of that, what is security? Security is a fractional ownership, or some sort of a tiered structure, fractional ownership of that asset, whether it's fund or equity, and then in a digital world, it's called a token. So this is digital asset-backed digital security, or it's called ABT, asset-backed tokens. That's a simple example. But we're trying to solve even a bigger problem: carbon trading cross-border. That is the problem that the Metaverse NFT technology can solve. What's the problem? The problem is we move from a Kyoto Protocol to Paris Agreement, COP26. I assume that everybody heard about the Paris Agreement, and people heard all the buzz about COP26, a wonderful meeting last year in Glasgow. What happened? The beauty and the challenge after Paris Agreement and Glasgow meeting last year is, wait for a second. Some of the emerging countries, the senior leadership came out to say, no, something's wrong, and then we need to be more thoughtful about it. And then the finance minister of Indonesia came out to say, we will not allow cross-border carbon trading until it meets greenhouse gas emissions target. Why are they thinking this way? Isn't this supposed to be good? Are we supposed to create a cross-border carbon market so the money is flowing? These are supposed to be good things, right? So why are some of the emerging countries, emerging economies people or senior leadership begins to question it? This is because Paris Agreement is great and also bad. When we move from Kyoto Protocol to Paris Agreement, unfortunately and fortunately, now most emerging economies signed up with it. When you were at the Kyoto Protocol, only developed world signed up with it, that most of the European Union, the US kind of back off. And so you were able to sell carbon credits, but now you have an emerging economy signed up to Paris Agreement as well. Coming with that, there is something very famous called NDC. It's a very technical term called Nationally Determined Contribution in a 3,000 page of document that the UN publishes very often. Most people understand it. I do understand quite a bit, but what is it? It's essentially give carbon a passport. Allow carbon or force carbon to have a nationality. Why? Because the Paris Agreement demands its signees to submit their carbon emission mitigation efforts to the United Nations every year. If they do so, they need to understand their carbon emission and carbon credits in their country. And hence, if you want to transfer out of it, you gotta become some say, oh, wait for a second. This is Indonesian carbon. This is Brazil carbon. Why do you care? Because yeah, we have to put a passport on it now. So that is a fundamental, unfortunate result of the Paris Agreement. Is carbon has a passport now. And then, as we all know, when you have a passport, you don't move around freely anymore, right? You need somebody, you need a customer to give you a check to say, hey, here's your important pass visa or visitor visa when you come over. And that custom, that visa is by an entity called registry. That's why Ben has been working on a lot of fascinating work. And then that's where you do a stamp. So what is the challenge the countries are facing now? When you have a wind project emerging in, say, emerging country, and whether it's blue carbon from mangroves or it's wind, whatever, and then you need money in order to build those projects. But at the same time, those projects come with carbon credits, and then you sell it to developer world, and then it comes, it translates from an Indonesian carbon to Japanese carbon. So it hurts their NDC reporting, their reporting to the United Nations. So the question becomes, sell or not a sell? That is suddenly becomes a question. At the Kyoto Protocol, that was never a question because the developing country doesn't have any obligation, just a sell. Now, that becomes a question, sell or not sell? Before COP26, it is just a mess. You have no idea what you are buying, what you are selling. That's why it's always a buyer's beware, meaning that you thought you bought it, maybe one day the host country's registry or system fully established, they just say that you did not buy it. You thought you wanted to do some carbon neutrality effort, and then one day you may not have done that. So that was all the kind of myth relates to the carbon and carbon neutrality. Post-COP26, it's supposed to have the corresponding adjustment. Unfortunately, there is insufficient registry or system established yet. Singapore is trying to do more of this, part of that great efforts. And so is some of the emerging countries as well. And they are trying to build their national power registry for that purpose. So, where does the Metaverse technology come into play? That is the problem. Here's the solution. The solution is, for everything that is happening relates to carbon, there is a strong need for integrity. That integrity can benefit from this Metaverse NFT technology. You have a window project, carbon credit project, create an avatar for it. You have a carbon footprint, create an avatar for it. And then you put them in combination, you have a carbon neutrality for it. And then this is the Metaverse Green Earth. This is essentially the platform our technical team is building to capture the representation of all those assets. We have to do it because we're an exchange. We have to provide this custodial service of what we're selling. And then above all, the first thing we're customized is actually what is underlying. So that is the NFT CC carbon credit avatar, carbon footprint avatar on Metaverse Green Earth. We're using Metaverse to drive a green earth. That's what we call it. We actually kind of trademark the Metaverse Green as our trademark. And here is the very core elements of it, is a carbon neutrality token based off that NFT. For example, I have a wind project that represents 10,000 pounds of carbon emission, and you have an NFT representing the digital assets, and then carbon token is just the assets on top of it. It's a fractional ownership. 1 ton represents 1 token represents 1 pound of carbon credit. I read this sentence, it's very long. It's a digital carbon credit and a financial security representing digital depository receipt of 1 ton of a certified and registered carbon market reduction. It's very long. Every word means something. It's a carbon voluntary emission reduction. So it's not a carbon tax, it's not a carbon allowance. It's certified and registered, meaning whether you use a Vera standard, Gold standard, or some other standard, it's to be certified. Registered, and then our typical standard is registered on national registry. And it's realized as a collective investment scheme. That's why we need all the financial guys to go down that path, because we want to do a financial collective investment scheme on top of it. And it's also a digital carbon credit because there is a real ERC21 token created for every one of them. So whenever you buy a CNT on our platform, what you notice, first of all, you can keep trace all the way back to see how this CNT was coming from the avatar of which real or wind or solar or nature-based project. Who certified it, who registered it, how it was transferred here, and how you make this a security. 1. 2, you're actually holding something with a duality characteristic. I was trained as a physicist. The duality is always lovely. Particle is also wave, wave is also particle. Electrical wave, the magnetic wave are essentially the same. So duality in our sense is financial security collective investment scheme registered in Singapore system, and at the same time it's a token in Ethereum. So that's the duality of what we built the whole system to create. And this is created so that it can be homogeneous. It can be across jurisdiction. We have the one from China already, because China has a well-established national registry, allows us to do that. We're working with a few countries, and then for them to do whatever standard they choose, and whatever registry they want to build. And occasionally, when they don't have the carbon registry, we send them one. And our carbon registry is built on top of our patent-pending NFT technology, because we're using NFT to represent the real-world assets in the Metaverse first, before carbon credit is even recorded. And all in all, you come up with a compliant voluntary system. I'm not going to give you the details. We tried this already. This is we did a proof of concept last year. And my friend associate who works with a lot of the Chinese company will love it. So you have a Chinese company and they have generated a whole bunch of carbon credits. And then we are moving the system through China's national registry system under the Ministry of Environment, and then record with the carbon exchanges in China and transfer to Singapore, create a product we call carbon neutrality token. That is a collective investment scheme and at the same time a digital carbon credit token. We have done that, and then after that, we took 6 months to work with one of the oldest certification firms in the world called the British Standards Institution, because we're creating something new. Nobody has seen carbon neutrality token. We created it, we patented it, and then well, it will be accepted by people for certain applications. So British Standards Institution over the past few months worked out into March to take digital carbon credit or our CNT as a means to be able to utilize for carbon neutrality certification. So now I have my friend from Ben, and then there's a lot of the green database and then ESG efforts. To do carbon footprint, there is ISO standard. So follow the ISO standard, and this can be certified by BSI, and by TÜV, and then all can do that efforts to come up with the carbon footprint. For example, this building, 2021, do a certification, do a measurement, yeah, maybe whatever, 20, 30 tons of carbon emitted from this building. You get that first. And then you get some of the carbon neutrality token. And then every one of them actually come from different country with all the system well established, all the integrities behind it. And you get a certificate of carbon neutrality. And that's the highest standard of carbon neutrality, not about the marketing department say we're carbon neutral. It's international certification firms, they are carbon neutral. And then our partnership with Ben is we get all the certificate, and then we send to Ben and with the API, of course, and then to click and then put that on the Stacks, reprint and the registry, just so that all the certificate, all the things are done. And we actually also mint an NFT, and then people talk a lot about the funky NFTs, and we right now just focus on one NFT, carbon neutral NFT. And let's just say, hey, you have done this carbon neutral, we want to record that activity in the blockchain forever for you with the full support and full integrity, and nobody can change. And we only need carbon neutrality NFT on our platform for people. And with all those things together, so especially we're actually doing some of the service for clients, is that we work with our carbon management system. Because we have exchange, we have the whole ecosystem in terms of digital carbon. We partner with the people to do a carbon footprint measurement. Can be with PSI, to Zoom, and then or your test to measure the carbon footprint. And then we use the CNT that is coming from a different country, and then solve all the issue and use that to create a carbon neutrality. And then you certify that with a carbon neutrality. And then, if you so choose to have a lovely and good-looking NFT, you have a different. That is what the Metaverse is doing. We are using the colorful, lovely Metaverse technology. We developed our own proprietary non-fungible digital twin stuff, and then backing carbon neutrality token so that it is a financial security and at the same time a digital carbon token in the blockchain. And we're use all these efforts combined with the real-world process to safeguard the integrity of carbon, because people do too many carbon wash conversation. And the integrity comes from both the whole process of a certification, of how it's created, how it was used for certificate, and then the highest technology standard with all our patent-pending FTT2 program. So, after we have gone through this journey for a few years to build all the system, what we are really doing is trying to create a system that bridging the Metaverse under the real world, but connecting all the different parts of other countries. As a service provider, being connection, and then to have a digital carbon credit flowing around, use that as a conduit, as a stimulus, as efforts to drive sustainable development of all sorts of projects and efforts. And then today, we are very happy that after all the years of work, and then we're step by step, got there, and then was able to partner with the band, partner with Professor Wen, and I really appreciate Sean and the OCBC's support, and then be able to work with the OCBC on all the great efforts. And Kenny, we're going to be your service provider, so Green Data Center. How about we jointly create some carbon neutral cloud service to a client that is backed by absolutely full integrity from RDA and from Ben, from us, and then happens to be needed some financing. We have the best bank sitting here right, we provide some financing for you. So. Lastly, we very much appreciate everybody for joining us today, and I'll turn to RMC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bo.